The mahogany table felt cold under my hands. Corporate mediation rooms are designed to be intimidating. They are perched high up in glass towers, usually overlooking a city skyline, meant to make you feel small before the negotiations even begin. My mother, Eleanor, sat directly across from me. She was flanked by my older brother, Julian, and a team of 3 lawyers whose suits probably cost more than the average American's car. They looked comfortable. They looked like they had already won. We were here to finalize the dissolution of my father's estate, and by extension, my involvement in the family logistics empire. Since my father passed away 16 months ago, Julian and my mother had been systematically bleeding me dry. They had frozen my access to company accounts, locked me out of board meetings, and launched a massive civil suit claiming I was mentally unfit and financially reckless, aiming to strip me of my 30% inherited stake in the company. Julian leaned back in his leather chair, spinning a silver pen between his fingers. He had always been the golden child, the one who went to the right Ivy League school, married the right country club wife, and said the right things at charity galas. I was the disappointment, the dropout, the one who disappeared for 6 years, living in cheap apartments, working jobs my mother refused to mention to her friends. Their lead attorney, a sharp-featured man named Harrison, cleared his throat and opened a thick binder. "If we can begin," Harrison said, his voice dripping with practiced condescension. He didn't look at me. He looked at the retired judge sitting at the head of the table, acting as our mediator. "Your Honor, we are here to expedite the removal of Elias Thorne from the board of Thorne Logistics, and to transfer his remaining equity back to the primary estate, managed by Julian Thorne." The mediator, an older man with tired eyes, adjusted his glasses. "On what legal grounds, Mr. Harrison?" Harrison stood up. He loved an audience. "On the grounds of gross negligence, financial incompetence, and abandonment of fiduciary duty. Elias Thorne has been a ghost for the better part of a decade. We have the financial records right here." He began distributing packets to the mediator and to my lawyer, David. David was a quiet, unassuming man I had hired out of a small firm in Chicago. Next to Julian's high-powered legal team, David looked like a substitute teacher. Julian smirked at him. "Let's review the respondent's history," Harrison continued, pacing slowly. "For 6 years, Elias Thorne reported an average annual income of less than $40,000. He has no property in his name, no significant assets. He has launched 3 separate LLCs in the past 5 years, all of which currently shows 0 revenue and 0 employees." My mother sighed, a perfectly timed sound of maternal disappointment. She dabbed the corner of her eye with a tissue. "We just want what's best for the company his father built," she whispered. "Elias has always struggled. We can't let him drag the legacy down with him." I didn't say anything. I just watched her. Harrison pressed on. "Furthermore, over the last 16 months, Julian Thorne has had to personally secure multiple high-interest loans to keep Thorne Logistics afloat due to market shifts. Elias has contributed nothing to this rescue effort. He has not attended a single emergency board meeting. He has, for all intents and purposes, abandoned this family and this company. Leaving him with a 30% stake is not only irresponsible, it is a danger to the hundreds of employees who rely on Thorne Logistics." Harrison closed his binder with a loud, dramatic thud. "We are offering a one-time buyout, $2 million for his 30%. It is a generous offer for a man who has contributed absolutely nothing. $2 million. The company was valued at nearly $200 million before my father died. It was an insult. It was an execution." Julian finally spoke. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on the mahogany table. "Take the deal, Elias," he said, using his best caring brother voice. "Take the money. Buy a nice house somewhere quiet. Let the adults handle the business. You're out of your depth here. You always have been." The mediator looked at my lawyer. "Does the respondent have a counter-argument, or are we prepared to discuss the terms of this buyout?" David, my quiet, unassuming lawyer, didn't open a binder. He didn't stand up to pace. He simply looked at me and gave a microscopic nod. I leaned forward. The room was dead silent. "I don't dispute Mr. Harrison's timeline," I said. My voice was calm. It didn't echo like Harrison, but it commanded the room. "I did disappear for 6 years. I do not own a home in my name, and the 3 LLCs Mr. Harrison mentioned do, in fact, have 0 employees." Julian smiled. My mother relaxed her shoulders. They thought I was surrendering. However, I continued, "Mr. Harrison's investigation into my LLCs was remarkably shallow." I reached into my briefcase and pulled out a single, thin black folder. I slid it across the table to the mediator. "What Mr. Harrison failed to mention is what those LLCs actually do. They are holding companies. Specifically, they are the holding companies that form the foundation of a private equity firm known as Blackwood Capital." Julian's smile faltered, just a fraction. "But I saw it." "Blackwood Capital?" the mediator asked, opening the folder. "Yes, Your Honor. I said. For the past 6 years, while my brother was attending galas and buying vacation homes in Aspen, I was building a private equity firm from the ground up. I didn't need to put my name on the door. I just needed to do the work. Harrison scoffed. Your Honor, this is irrelevant. Whether he works in private equity or flips burgers, it does not change the fact that he abandoned Thorne Logistics. It is highly relevant, Mr. Harrison. I interrupted, my voice dropping an octave, because of what Blackwood Capital has been doing for the last 16 months. I looked directly at Julian. The color was beginning to drain from his face. When my father died, I said slowly, making sure every word hit its mark, Julian took over as CEO. And within 4 months, he realized he didn't know how to run a logistics empire. He lost our 2 biggest shipping contracts. The company started bleeding cash. So, Julian did what he always does. He panicked, and he hid it. Objection, Harrison barked, standing up. This is slander. It's on page 4 of the document in front of you. David, my lawyer said quietly. It was the first time he had spoken. The mediator turned to page 4, his eyebrows raised, to cover the losses. I continued. Julian took out loans, massive, high-interest corporate loans. He leveraged the company's warehouses, our fleet of trucks, and even our childhood home to secure the cash. He thought he could out-earn the interest before anyone noticed. My mother turned to Julian, her eyes wide. Julian? What is he talking about? Julian was staring at me, his jaw clenched so tight it looked like it might shatter. It was a temporary cash flow issue. He hissed. I had it under control. You took out $45 million in debt, Julian, I said coldly, from a private lender, a lender that specializes in distressed assets. You didn't read the fine print. You just saw the cash and signed the paperwork. The room felt like the air had been sucked out of it. And who was the lender? The mediator asked, though looking at his face, I could tell he already knew the answer. Just then, the heavy double doors of the mediation room clicked open. A woman walked in. She was in her late 50s, wearing a sharp gray suit, carrying a thick leather briefcase. She didn't look at my mother. She didn't look at Harrison. She walked straight to my side of the table and stood behind my chair. Sorry I'm late, Mr. Thorne, she said to me. Not at all, Sarah, I replied. I looked back at the mediator. Your Honor, this is Sarah Jennings, the Chief Financial Officer of Blackwood Capital. Sarah opened her briefcase and pulled out a stack of legally bound contracts, each stamped with a red seal. She distributed them to the mediator, and then, almost mockingly, slid a copy over to Julian. As I was saying, I leaned back in my chair, matching the exact posture Julian had used 10 minutes earlier. Julian took out $45 million in loans. The creditor was a subsidiary of Blackwood Capital, my company. My mother gasped. Her hand flew to her mouth. Julian leaped out of his chair. You set me up, you predatory piece of... Sit down, Julian, I said. My voice cracked like a whip. For the first time in his life, he actually listened. He slowly sank back into his leather chair, his hands trembling. I didn't set you up, I said quietly. You went looking for a lifeline because you were drowning. You came to my firm. You just didn't realize it was mine because you never bothered to look past the surface. You saw a generic corporate entity, and you signed your life away. I turned to Harrison, whose face was now a pale, sickly shade of gray. Mr. Harrison, I said, as Julian's attorney, you should probably review the terms of the loan your client signed, specifically Section 4, Paragraph 12. Harrison scrambled to open the document Sarah had handed him. His eyes darted back and forth across the page. He stopped breathing for a second. What does it say, Harrison? Julian demanded, his voice cracking. Tell me what it says. Harrison slowly looked up. He didn't look at Julian. He looked at my mother. It says, Harrison swallowed hard, that in the event of 3 consecutive missed payments, the creditor has the right to accelerate the loan. And if the debt cannot be satisfied in cash, the creditor has the right to seize all leveraged assets. And how many payments has Julian missed, Sarah? I asked without looking at her. 4, sir. Sarah replied instantly. As of yesterday, Thorne Logistics is officially in default. Silence. The kind of silence that feels heavy. The kind that rings in your ears. You wanted to buy my 30% for $2 million, I said, staring at Julian. But you don't seem to understand the math in this room. You don't own this company anymore, Julian. You defaulted. Blackwood Capital is seizing the leveraged assets to satisfy the debt. You can't do this. My mother whispered, her voice trembling. Elias, this is your family. This is your father's legacy. My father's legacy was bankrupt when you let Julian take the wheel. I replied, my tone entirely flat. I didn't destroy it. I bought it. I own the warehouses. I own the fleet. And as of this morning, I am the majority shareholder of Thorne Logistics. I stood up and buttoned my suit jacket. There will be no buyout. I said to the mediator, because there is nothing left for them to buy me out of. I looked down at Julian. He looked small, stripped of his arrogance, stripped of his title. He was just a terrified man who had played a game he didn't understand. Oh, and Julian? I added, pausing at the door, you're fired. Please have your office cleared out by 5 p.m. Security will be waiting. I didn't wait for a response. I didn't need to. I walked out the heavy mahogany doors, Sarah and David following quietly behind me. Behind me, the room erupted into shouting, panic, legal threats that meant absolutely nothing. The elevator ride down to the lobby was silent. When the doors opened to the street, the sun was shining. The air felt clear. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like the disappointment. I just felt like the owner.